everyone, this is Tasha Nicole, the entrepreneur. Hope you all have been doing well. I know I haven't did a video in a minute, but I don't like to really get on here unless I have something valuable to share. So in today's video, I actually wanted to talk to you all about the sharing economy and how it affects your taxes. And if you are participating in any of these, you really need to be more aware of how it affects your taxes. So for those of you who may be wondering, what is the sharing economy? I'm referring to Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, Rover. I think that's the one where you're walking the dog and walking dogs, and TaskRabbit, any of those platforms, okay? Those are called, IRS is defining it as the sharing economy, okay? And any money you make on those platforms is considered taxable income. So whether you know it or not, the IRS is already recognizing you as a business owner, small business owner, sole proprietor, whatever you want to call it. The IRS sees you as that because that's technically what you are. You're not an employee of any of those companies, okay? Unless you are, in fact, an employee of one of those companies. But what I'm saying is, if you're participating in the services where, you're doing services and they're paying you like as an independent contractor, you're not an employee. They're not taking out taxes. You're responsible for your own taxes. Okay, so I got my notes here for those of you who've watched a lot of my videos already. I always come with notes. Okay, so, because I definitely don't want to jump around. All right, so now let's talk about, what I was saying is that any of these services that you do, you're considered a business owner. So what does that mean? Okay, first of all, in most cases, depending on how much you earn with any of these companies, if it's going to be like over $600, they're going to issue you by next year, the end of this year, beginning of next year, they're going to issue you a 1099 miscellaneous form, okay? And on that form, you're going to see a box filled in called non-employee compensation. It's box number 7. Okay, those forms also go to the IRS. So don't even think that, like you're not going to have to report this, because you do, because they also get that form. There's another form you may receive. I think Uber and Lyft send a 1099K. Okay, and that's also another form that's basically showing your earnings with them. All right, so that's one way. But whether or not they issue you those forms, it is still income that you have to report. And they have their different ways of finding out, especially like, let's say Airbnb, you're on Airbnb, you're advertising your unit that you're renting out. They're tying into the technology too. So if they ever come across and find out and see that you have something on Airbnb, you're not reporting it as rental income, et cetera, it could just cause unnecessary trouble. So I always tell people, like, don't be afraid to make the money. You're going to be entitled to write off, deductions. And that was the next thing I wanted to move towards, okay? So since you're recognized in those cases as a business owner, you are entitled to business deductions. And what that basically means is that anything you're spending, related to these services that you're doing is tax deductible. And sometimes shared expenses can also be tax deductible. For an example, let's say like your cell phone. Okay, obviously if you're doing Uber, Lyft, whatever, you're communicating through your cell to use the app to, for customers to reach you, etc. So even though your cell is also a personal item or personal expense, part of it is actually going to be able to be tax deductible. All right, because you're using it for these services. Now, there's a lot of other things you can deduct, including car expenses. Whether or not you can take the mileage or actual expenses, it just determines that's going to be something that you take up with the person who prepares your taxes. Or if you're using one of those DIY softwares, you usually want to just go with what's going to give you the greater benefit. In most cases, it's going to be mileage. But there are some cases where maybe doing actual expenses it's better. Now, when you do mileage, you do also get to take parking and tolls, okay, those expenses. But now, when you're doing actual expenses and not mileage, you actually get to write off a percentage of so many other things, including repairs, maintenance, car washes, everything, all those kind of things, okay, parts, labor. You get to deduct a percentage of that when you're doing the auto repairs part, when you're doing auto actual expenses, okay, versus mileage. Now, I just want to also mention other things that you can deduct, including a part of your rent, your mortgage, your property taxes. What's good about that is that a lot of you, I'm sure, were very dissatisfied with the results this year of your taxes. So you, in most cases, you were no longer able to write off your property taxes. You were no longer able to write off your mortgage interest, okay, and so forth. So now the loophole is, hey, if you're doing one of these services or have some other side hustle going on, now you do get to write these things off, including expenses like internet, okay? I write so much stuff off. It's ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but I'm just saying I basically get to write off darn near my whole life because it relates to business, or a percentage of those expenses, okay? Subscriptions, and I mean everything. I subscribe to YouTube Premium. That's a deduction because I'm using it for research purposes for my business, okay? So my YouTube Premium subscription, my subscription to my Apple storage, I deduct everything, okay? When you're buying laptops, computers, new phones, let's see, ATM fees, that's right, you're going to take money out the ATM. What else I have here? Photography. Where some of us are having photographers like take our shots for social media and things like that. That's deductible. Okay, too many to name in this video, but what I'm saying is just think of everything that you're currently spending, and if you're doing these services or have some other side hustle, side business, even if you're in network marketing, like whatever, a lot of your day-to-day expenses are tax deductible. But let me just get back to these topics because that's what I wanted to come in here and talk about, the sharing economy. I wanted to also make you aware to, aside from the whole tax situation, make sure you're keeping in compliance with other matters such as necessary insurance. Let's say, for instance, you are doing like Uber Eats or whatever, DoorDash and those kind of things. You definitely want to make sure that you have your, car insurance notified so that you're properly covered. Your rate premium is going to go up, but then guess what? Now part of your car insurance is deductible if you're doing actual expenses, okay? Now, if you need a business license for what you're doing, all right, you may also be required to pay room taxes, lodging or tourist taxes if you're doing Airbnb. So check with your locality, your municipality, okay? And let's see what else I have here. Of course, the additional taxes. Now, the thing with the taxes, if you're going to pay quarterly taxes on this extra income, you don't have to necessarily do that, but you can actually have your employer withhold extra money from your paycheck. So that may be something that you want to check into. And speaking of, they're actually changing the W-4 form next year. They already sent me, because I receive things since I'm a tax professional. I receive things. They already have the new W-4 out, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's going to be quite confusing for all of you, but payroll is going to be giving you guys that, and a lot is changing with these whole W-4s. Okay, now let's see what else I have here. Record keeping. Okay, it is very important that now, since you are quote unquote a business owner, that you keep up with your own records in terms of tracking your income, tracking your expenses, categorizing your expenses, and all sorts of things, keeping your receipts. I always recommend to people, have a separate bank account, a business bank account that you're doing all of these transactions out of. Don't mix it with your personal, okay? And that's usually the best way to go, All right, so that's what I wanted to get on here and talk to you all about today. Thank you for watching. I'm a tax strategist, consultant, and educator to entrepreneurs across the United States. Feel free to send me an email at kharge@hargeconnections.com, and that is spelled KHARDGE. Okay, you're welcome to reach out if you need assistance to see if I could be of help or with questions. Okay, thank you for watching. See you in the next video.